your YouTube videos, your lives, you talked about the difference between video or movie reviews that you did and the movie reviews that are done nowadays, like on YouTube or on social media. Do you think that the big difference is because social media is just vastly different than the written word, than journalism itself? And so people who are on social media are trying to get views, they're trying to get big in that manner, so they're not necessarily doing an educated review per se. They're just doing, I like this because of blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
That's a very good way of putting it. So I like that question because it's a very good way of putting it. And I wrote an essay called A Confederacy of Dunces, which is, of course, the title, John Kennedy O'Toole's novel. Right. Great novel, great novel. That is what I think of the movie influencers, the so-called YouTube film reviewers, the so-called online, a number of these so-called online film critics, not the professionals, the clear professionals. I consider them to be a constellation of cowards and a galaxy of goofballs.
Okay.
They are the vast mob and range of cretins and nitwits. I came back to writing about film last year, 2024. I was away from the world of movies insofar as, talking about movies, covering them in any capacity. What I realized was that the old world that I know, I can call it an old world now, is gone. The world that I still was semi-attached to, where people like Pauline Kael, Andrew Sarris, Dwight McDonald, Roger Ebert, Gene Siskel, and various other critics, because Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert were not only TV critics, they were also journalists and writers. They wrote reviews. What you have is, in the past, you had people like Pauline Kael was as much a film fan as she was a film writer. But she was a film writer. She was a film critic, previously freelancing, and I know that as a freelancer myself, as a former freelancer, for magazines and for newspapers. I think in her case, magazines primarily. And of course, eventually ending up at the New Yorker. But she was a writer, and she was a good writer. Unfortunately, what I see are people that are not even good talkers. What you have, again, to quote the title of my essay, is a confederacy of dunces. You have a vast, a vast collection of utterly unqualified people. And I'll name 3 names, because I named them in my essay. You have the critical drinker, or as I like to call him, the critical stinker. You have Chris Stuckman, and you have Rob Ager. And I'm on record as saying that these people are inherently unqualified. Okay. Rob Ager is inherently unqualified. I mean, what Chris and Stuckman and the critical drinker are, they are filmmakers, wannabe filmmakers, but basically filmmakers who are liars. They're pretending to be critics and reviewers, and they're really filmmakers. That's what they want to make movies. Great, make your movie, but don't pretend to be a film reviewer. You don't know what you're talking about. Critical Drinker is a novelist who started ranting and raving about his political, ideological twaddle and nonsense, and thought that would be that would somehow coalesce into reviews. They don't. It's just a bunch of noise. It's utter noise, to quote from a character in the movie version of The Talented Mr. Ripley. It's just infernal noise. And that's the reality. You know, what it is a kind of universe of half-wits and morons that have no knowledge of movies, have no knowledge of filmmaking. You know, some of them might have knowledge of filmmaking, some of them might know a little something about movies, but most of these people don't know anything. And that's the big difference. I actually knew Roger Ebert. He used to come to my hometown film festival, and he would give me about 15 minutes for an interview. So I have a lot of good memories of Roger Ebert. And I don't think that this is an environment in which a Roger Ebert or a Gene Siskel could thrive.
Right.
I honestly don't. And it's sad. I mean, Roger won a Pulitzer Prize for his film reviews.
Right.
And that tells you how good, and this is a guy who was in a PhD program at the University of Chicago. You know, like I said, I make no bones about the fact I'm biased toward Roger Ebert. I met him, I talked to him, he's nice to me. So I have a lot of good memories of him. I know there are people who don't like him. As far as I'm concerned, they can go to hell. You know, I hate to say it that way, but I like Roger. And we don't have critics like Roger anymore. We don't have critics like Pauline Kael, Andrew Serretz. Another I would cite is James Agee. Mm-hmm. If I had to say influences, Roger Ebert, obviously. James Agee was another influence. Who wrote one of the best reviews I ever read, the Treasure of the Sierra Madre. I think Pauline Kael in her own way was, but Pauline could be very abrasive.
So,
and I like her work, but yeah, things about her. But
so why do you think those three people you mentioned earlier are successful in the business?
Oh, you mean Chris Stuckman, the critical drinker, and Rob Baker?
Yes.
They're successful because of YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
social media. Yeah.
Right now online.
That's why they're successful.
Yeah. People don't have time.
I still write reviews. See, I still write reviews.
Yeah.
That's a difference.
Yeah.
I don't go, I'm not like these, and again, I'm not a film critic anymore. I'm not a film reviewer anymore. So I make that clear. Even though I make these retro film reviews, I'm not an active critic. I'm not an active film reviewer. So I don't have any skin in the game. Even though I'm a film writer, I don't have any skin in the game.
Right.
So I can actively come out and say, these people don't know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. They're a complete waste of time and space. They're successful because the algorithm works for them on YouTube. And because heat creates light from the audience.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
The hotter you are, the hotter the audience will be, and that combustibility is created, which leads to clickbait and views and likes and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Very true. Mm-hmm. Very true.
Because they give you like 5 or 10 minutes and over the top comment and go crazy, and that's how.
Yeah. I mean, I think the audience now wants that quick review, that really fast 30-second review. They don't want to take the time to actually learn about the movie. They just want to know what are the 3 most important things. Give me that in 30 seconds and then move on. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's honestly our world has changed.
Gone, man.
Yeah.
Your attention span is gone. Yes.
I mean, I used to.
Yeah, and that's what you get on TikTok.
Yeah.
From what I understand. I see 1 or 2 of these things. They're not reviews. They're spew. They're not reviews.
Yeah.
You know. Hey, I like the new Superman movie. It's pretty good. You know, you should go out and see it. I'm Jim, and that's Jim in the movies. Bye now.
Yes.
That's a movie review on TikTok. On YouTube, it's a little longer.
But it's still short.
It's still, I mean, do I really want to see somebody in their crappy studio apartment talk to me about, you know, the latest movie that's out, Weapons? Do I really want to see somebody review Weapons from their crappy studio apartment? No, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't, I mean, you know, again, I don't know how this is going to be received, but
Yeah.
like, to everyone out there on YouTube and TikTok and other parts of the internet, if you like all these so-called film reviewers and film critics and movie influencers, you like idiots. You're getting your advice and your opinions about movies from uneducated half-wits.
Wow, okay.
From completely unqualified people.
Yeah.
Rob Ager is a clear example of this. This is a guy who worked in, I think, the care system in England or whatever. Interesting background. But as I note in my essay, Confederacy of Dunces, Rob Ager has no degree. And he's created this site, Collative Learning. Let me just make this very clear. I have a bachelor's degree, but I do not pretend nor ever want to give the impression that I'm a film scholar.
Right.
I just have a bachelor's degree, not a PhD. I don't teach at the University of Toronto. I don't teach at NYU. I don't teach at UCLA. I don't teach at USC, right, where a lot of major film schools are. I don't teach at a lot of these. I don't teach at any university or college.
Right.
I'm not a film scholar. I was a film reviewer, and I'm a film writer. I define myself as a film analyst. Rob Ager is wholly and completely unqualified to discuss movies. Now, anyone can go and do a film channel, and I have no problem with that. They can go and do a film channel and look at movies and analyze movies. But what Rob Ager has done with his channel, Collative Learning, is give people the illusion that he is somehow a scholar, that he is somehow somebody with academic credentials. Not outright credentials, but giving them the hint that he knows what he's talking about in regards to movies.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He has interesting points of view, I'll grant that. And I think his background, I think in the care system, and he's read a lot of psychology, I think that's interesting. But I think maybe he should talk about those things. Now, again, I'm not saying that he shouldn't talk about movies per se. What I feel is that he's unqualified as an expert on movies.
Yeah.
Whether it's, a faux scholar, a faux reviewer, a faux analyst, he's unqualified.
Yeah.
And I'm not the first person to state this. Others have stated it as well. And so that's my problem with him. Now, with the critical drinker and Chris Stuckman, they're not pretending to be film scholars. They just kind of call themselves film reviewers, and that's fine. Well, it's not fine, but at least they're not pretending to have this grandiloquent, elaborate knowledge and scholarship. Unlike Rob Ager, even if you deny that he does, that's not what he has. The reality is you're giving a false impression that you are somehow some kind of film expert.
Yeah.
You're not a film expert.
Yeah. So
again, I'm sure this will not go over very well.
Right.
Not so much with those guys, but with other people.
Right.
Good.